Does that make any sense, listeners? Or am I just fucking crazy?
I'm not sure it made sense. But I appreciate the effort.
I guess we can just get started.
Okay.
I will say all the cats are gone. The door is closed. You can see I've set a metal magazine rack on top of a storage cube in front of the door because the house is 115 years old and the door doesn't close all the way.
Hey, mine's not that old and none of the doors close anyways because they've slapped like 400 coats of paint on each one.
Ugh, sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get excited to move.
Me too. Oh, that's...
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. Okay. Hey, friends.
Hi.
And welcome to Pickles and Vodka, the mental health podcast. The mental health podcast where your comfort is not our priority.
Oh, boy.
I'm Christina.
And I'm Lauren.
And I told myself I would not laugh as much on this episode. But
I think I do more out of the two of us, and I'm always telling myself, stop that.
It's okay, you know? We won't always feel like laughing, and we'll look back at those days and be like, why didn't I laugh more? Anyway, today we're going to be talking about a topic of my choosing, which I totally did not pick this morning.
You sound like me.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, here's my teaser. You know how I always research the hell out of things and have a lot of data? That's not going to be this episode.
Okay.
It's going to be more of a general topic episode like we used to do.
Okay.
So I'm curious to see what will come of it. Mm-hmm. But first, Lauren, where are you at?
A roller coaster? I was going to say not great because the last few days have not been great. But then I realized, as was teased up top, I haven't told the big, humongous news, which is the day after we recorded last time, I looked at some condos and really, really liked one of them. And my realtor she's been doing this for 20 years and seeing them. And she's like, this is a really good one. And if you are interested, it will go fast. So I thought about it on hyperspeed. And later that day was like, okay, let's do it. Let's make an offer. And they accepted by that night.
Oh shit!
Yes.
So you have a condo,
yes,
essentially.
Yes.
Oh my god! Wait. How do I? You know what? It's been too long. Okay. Yeah, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you get to move out of this place?
So we set a closing date for June 12th. So assuming everything goes well, and it seems like I'm working with a reasonable seller, so hopefully there are no issues. Then June 12th.
My God!
Like a month and a half.
This is the day you've been waiting for so long.
Oh my God, yes. My last place was beautiful, but it was in a terrible spot, and I greatly feared for my safety towards the end. Plus, I had a little bit of a interesting roommate situation for a bit.
Yeah.
And then this place was going to be smaller, but that's fine because it's in a good neighborhood and it's really close to work. And instead, it was also the apartment from hell.
It'll be weird not having Pico in your new place.
Yeah, that's
I was just thinking about that.
Part of what's been tough is, obviously this news all happened last Saturday, and I'm, super excited and riding the high for a couple nights. And then I just, the first thought that hit me is I was like, I've had like 7 moves with him now, and this is the first time he doesn't get to see the new place. And
7 moves. That's insane.
Yeah, well, because it was in the whole, like, I'm going to leave Chicago and I'm going to be in Michigan for a bit. I hate Michigan, remember? I'm going to move to St. Louis. I'm going to sublet so that I can find a place. So I was thinking of that. And then on top of that, I know that night, I was like already really sad realizing that. And then for some reason, it's nothing new at this point. It's been a few weeks, but it just like hit me really hard. I was like, all right, I'm just going to go to bed then. And it's like, what's the last thing I do before I go to bed? I take Pico out to pee one last time. And I just like literally turned to go to the door and was like, oh. And so
sad.
I mean, the bassist boyfriend, he I like that that's his title here.
You can just say the bassist or your boyfriend. I feel like combining them is just too much.
Okay, we'll just call him the bassist then. I like that.
Listeners, what do you call him when you talk about us in all your free time?
Which would you prefer of the two? Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he usually goes to bed fairly early, so I didn't even know, but I just texted him. I was like, "Are you awake?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I just immediately started like bawling on the phone. I was like, "I'm sorry," but it just, yeah.
That sounds like really uncomfortable for you, but I'm noticing you've been doing a lot of stuff like that lately.
Yeah.
Like stuff that might have...
I mean, it definitely was. It was like I sat there and second guess. I was like, because my brain immediately goes to like, well, what's he going to do? He's over at his place and I'm at mine. And like, you're not going to like stop me from being depressed. But then I was just like, fuck it. I just need to talk to someone.
I'm so proud of you. It'd be a weird thing to say in a moment like that. But the real ones get it.
Yeah.
Also, I love your eyeshadow today.
Oh, I meant to comment on that. I was like, we both...
What color? Is that multiple colors?
It is. We both have a little bit of fancy eye makeup, I see.
I mean, I've been doing the wing again for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I cut my hair, so it might be more prominent.
Yes, it makes it very dramatic.
But yeah, describe like to the listeners.
Greens and golds. Yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty. Oh my God.
I guess my week is, it was like huge excitement and then like big sad moments. Because also, I know I've told you, I don't know if I mentioned it on an episode, that with the way that everything happened with Pico, for the first 2 weeks straight, I would say, like, I just had to process shock and trauma. Like, I did not even touch grief.
Yeah.
Like if you just like died in a normal way, that's where you'd start and what you'd go through. But I knew, like after the first couple of weeks, I'm like, and then there's also that I get to go through. And that's what it's felt like more now is, I just like see things and it's just like, I just miss you being here.
Yeah, he's sorely missed.
Me especially. But yeah, so then, there's that and then there's excitement and then there's like stress because also first-time home buyer, don't know any of this stuff, and people keep coming at me like, we need this so we can process your loan. We need this to prove you'll have insurance. I'm like, okay.
It sounds like such a headache.
Yeah, so that's why I said roller coaster week. It's been all over.
Are you just exhausted?
Yes, but the bassist and I both said on Wednesday for some reason it was that we said like we just came home from work and just felt like knocked the fuck out. And on top of that, I was like, that hit me at about like 3:00 on Wednesday. And I was just like, and Thursday I go in and I was like, it was more like 10:30. I'm like, I'm done for the day. I hit my wall.
I feel like that's a metaphor for life. Like you start out all fresh and then by your age.
Yeah, which is midday Thursday. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You're still Wednesday morning.
I'm like 11 a.m. on a Wednesday.
Okay.
But yeah, it's totally a thing. Like you have to have periods where, like the weekend, where you just don't do anything to get ready for the next phase of life, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And the scary thing is that all of these people in home buying tend to work like a lot on the weekends. So I could still get requests.
Well, it's going to be stressful, but in a good way.
Yeah. And obviously it'll be worth it when it's over and I'm out of here.
It's gotta get me over soon. Like, hold on, I have to sneeze. Where's the mute button? I didn't get it in time. Oh, God. Sorry.
But it was funny watching you try. You're like, I hold it back. Okay,
anyway.
Where are you at?
Where am I at? I can't, like, talk about all of it, but there's a lot of stuff going on my mom's side of the family right now. A lot of people are not doing well. Like, basically, multiple people are having crises.
Yeah.
And it's just really painful. And this comes on the heels of, like, her brother dying.
Yeah.
And then their aunt just died, like, 2 weeks later. And, well, no, it's been longer than that. Anyway, there's a lot of tragedies happening on that side of the family. And, yeah, I've been dealing with that this week. I cut my foot open at my parents' house last night. I've been filing for my dad. He's paying me, which is nice. And also, I'm a historian, so I love going through all the old files and finding gems, like old family newsletters from 2002.
I would enjoy that too.
It's really enjoyable. But last night, I was sprawled on the floor with my up to my elbows in a filing cabinet, and then I feel this little sting, like when you sit on a Lego or something. Yeah. And I look down, and there's just blood bubbling up from my sock. Like an insane amount of blood.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it was insane. And so I grabbed my mom when she found out. The first thing she asked was, "What about the carpet?" There was a tiny bit of blood on the carpet.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad. But yeah, it ripped a gash in my sock. I had to throw the sock away. And it was just covered in blood.
Because I saw the picture, and that's what my first thought was. How big was this piece of glass in the carpet?
It was long and thin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I found another one after. Listeners don't need to know that, but... And then I've been working a ton, which is good because I'm saving up to move, but I've just had either no free time or too much free time when I shouldn't be having free time.
Yeah, when is your expected move? I feel like...
So my lease ends in September.
Oh. Hey, we'll be close again.
Oh my God. When are you moving?
Well,
you just told me.
Yeah, I mean the close date is June 12th, so I would of course move a bed over and immediately start sleeping there, but I still I'm not done with this place until August. So I can just, slowly move things if I want.
So yeah, we're probably going to end up moving in August, me and my sister, because that's usually how things work. There's usually a little overlap.
That's a good
It's
time.
so exciting.
Yes. It's so funny. We did this before, too. We were both moving at the same time.
Oh, my God. So Janai actually checked in with me after we published that episode. They were like, there's a tone shift between our intro and the episode that we did 2 years ago.
Oh, boy.
3 years ago at this point?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
When we were both moving?
I feel like we need to address that.
Yeah.
I was with a man, and we were getting a place together, the same place that I'm here now. But the circumstances were totally different. I was living in denial that I was queer. I didn't even know it at that point. I was working a job that I hated, but making a lot of money. Everything was good on paper.
And I was completely falling apart, but really, really trying to swing the other way and pretend like I absolutely am not, so nobody sends me to treatment.
Yeah, that was
happened
before,
about 6 months later.
That was oh my God, before all this shit happened.
Everything is so great. Yeah.
It's insane. We were different people.
That is wild. I want to listen to that now.
I stopped listening when we were talking about the apartments.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand.
I understand
hearing certain names,
especially. Yeah,
and I don't give enough of a fuck to go back and bleep out names.
No, but I understand being I don't need to hear this right now.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been really stressed and depressed, I guess, which is a weird feeling when I've been so go for so long. I forget that there's a reason that I'm always go because I want to ignore the feelings of depression.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's because there's been so many crises in the family. I've been thinking about death more, and that's been bumming me out.
As it does.
/ it's made me really fearful for people in my life.
Yeah.
And for myself.
It makes sense because I know a little more of the background that it's just it's a lot of stuff weighing on you, even if it's not personally happening to you. You're affected by all of it.
Well, yeah, and some of it is personally happening to me, which I'm not going to talk about it, but it's some people very close to me. So that's been interesting, being on the other side of it, because usually I'm the one having the crisis.
Yeah.
It's not very comfortable. It's a lot more comfortable being in that, on the other side of things.
It is.
Which is a weird thing to say.
But it's true. I get it.
So that brings me to my topic, which is comfort.
Oh.
And or discomfort.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one we'll talk about
Probably
more.
both, yeah.
The reason that I want to talk about it is, well, obviously I spend a lot of time uncomfortable. I live with discomfort, you might say. Not just physical discomfort, but psychic discomfort, emotional discomfort. So my therapist had me do this activity this week. She had a big piece of paper taped to the table and a bunch of tubes of paint. And she was like, this is based on a workshop I just did. I think you'll really benefit from it. Basically, you make a finger painting.
Okay.
But you either close your eyes or you don't look at it.
Okay.
You just kind of feel for the parameters, for the boundaries of the paper. And you just kind of, without worrying about how it looks, you just kind of push the paint around and focus on like what comes to mind. I couldn't last 30 seconds without talking. And I could not close my eyes either. I was surprised by how uncomfortable I was. Like the discomfort was so palpable. And I told her as I was experiencing them, I was like, I feel self-conscious that you're watching me and that this is a waste of time because I'm not doing anything productive. And I feel like I'm almost performing. I feel like I'm not in the right mindset to do this. And then afterwards, I was like, you know what? I'm proud of myself for doing that. But even though I feel like it didn't accomplish anything, I did something really uncomfortable. And she was like, to me, that shows that you trust me, that you're willing to do something like that. Because like listeners know, anything somatic like that just freaks me out. Anything like focused on feelings in your body, it's like sensations.
Yeah. I think I've done that a little more, so I'm maybe like slightly more comfortable with that than you, but I started off exactly like you, I would say.
Well, and you're a performer and a dancer, like you do the aerial classes and stuff.
But
I feel like
I have this brain that just like clings to logic so hard. So I think that's like whenever something like that would get brought up in therapy, you know, they would just be like, and where do you feel that in your body? I'm just like, I don't know. I can say something. I'm probably making up an answer because you want one.
Yeah. And I feel like when I'm uncomfortable, it prevents me from being my authentic self. Well, okay. There's so much we could talk about. I'm going to start. I will read one definition. Okay. I'm sorry. No, sorry. So I wanted to just define comfort on its own. Like, what does that mean? So I like the Wikipedia definition because it focuses on mental health. Comfort is a state of physical or psychological ease, often characterized by the absence of hardship. Individuals experiencing a lack of comfort are typically described as uncomfortable or in discomfort. A degree of psychological comfort can be achieved by recreating experiences that are associated with pleasant memories, such as engaging in familiar activities, maintaining the presence of familiar objects, and consumption of comfort foods. Comfort is a particular concern in healthcare, as providing comfort to the sick and injured is one goal of healthcare and can facilitate recovery. The phrase comfort zone is sometimes used to describe a psychological state associated with perceived safety and familiarity. Because of the personal nature of positive associations, psychological comfort is highly subjective.
Okay.
I know that was kind of long, but I liked it because it brought up a few different things.
Yeah, I already took notes while you were talking about some things.
Yeah, please. I mean, let's start there. What's your reaction to the definition?
First thing I wrote down was absence of hardship. I didn't really have a comment on it. I just found that interesting. Like I hadn't thought of it that way. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's an interesting way to describe it.
I know.
Something that I was thinking of that I've heard about, because people sometimes, you know, like make fun of people that do this. And I know I do this a lot. Like I have maybe like 3-4 go-to TV series and I will watch them over and over and over again. And, you know, some people like hear that, I know, and they're just kind of like, doesn't that sound kind of boring? You keep watching the same thing. But then I learned that that is particularly something people with anxiety do. They need the familiarity. They need to know how things are going to turn out. So that gives them comfort if they're just going to, you know, like chill out and watch TV versus watching something new gives them more anxiety.
Well, yeah. And you could say that that's a coping mechanism. And so if you substitute any other coping mechanism, let's say drinking to excess, that's seen by society as unhealthy, while watching TV shows over and over is seen as, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it's just interesting that it's like a lot of people will say, you know, they use that to just kind of, you know, like relax, veg out, like I watch TV. But it's like, depending on your mind, you know, you could get that same relaxation from, you know, just like watching new things all the time. Or you could only get it from, you know, like, I know that I like this and I'm going to put it on and let it keep me company.
Well, yeah. The fact that it's familiar makes it comfortable, not the thing itself.
Yeah, but some people definitely are that way, though. It's just kind of like having noise. I don't care if I've seen it, but I am not.
It's subjective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do that with songs. I have songs that are like comfort songs that I've listened to thousands and thousands of times, but and not all of them produce good feelings.
True.
But because I have this like ritual of listening to them, they're comfortable, even if they don't make me feel good.
Yeah.
And they might stir up bad memories.
I have a playlist that I made, like, specifically, like, songs that make me cry.
Just one?
Just one playlist. Yes.
That's what I meant. Just one playlist?
Yes. I mean, some of them
amateur. You're a musician.
Some of them find their ways onto other playlists, but yeah, it's like sometimes you're just in a spot where it's like, okay, I want to feel as miserable as fucking possible because I'm almost there. And yeah, and somehow it is comforting to hear these songs that I know. It's like every time I hear it, it gets me.
Oh, yeah. I am a slut for sad music. Like,
that does not surprise me. Even your piano music.
I know. Well, my piano teacher in her 70s sentenced me like stuff in minor keys because she remembered that I liked it in high school.
Yeah, that was so cute.
So even back then, I would only play sad music. That's not a cry for help or anything.
I don't know. I think I like most of the minor key, slower, sadder stuff too. It's more interesting.
The fact that it's familiar makes it comfortable.
Yeah.
But with that said, the familiar stuff is not always what's good for you.
True.
So one of the questions that I had was like, how do you know when you're too comfortable? And is comfort like a good thing or a bad thing? Is discomfort a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
I
feel like I can tie in also just to like wrap up my last thought when you were reading the definition, because I was starting to think about this when you mentioned the concept of a comfort zone. And what stood out is that it started out saying perceived safety. And I was like, perceived. Interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know like the first thing I thought of is when I was a little kid, then I feel like I always felt comfortable in like small, tight spaces. I mean, I could just be sitting in my room. Nobody is in my room. I'm just there alone reading. No one's going to bother me. But for some reason, I preferred to take my books into the closet and curl up and read in there.
Yes. I was going to say the closet was my safe space. Like, oh my God. If any of my siblings are listening, the house in Florida, my mom had a very deep closet. And I would go and hide behind her dresses. Like she had dresses with long skirts. Mm-hmm. And I would just let the skirts like envelop me. And it was so comforting.
Yes. That's the first thing I thought of because I was just like if I'd been too obsessed with that, it could have come to an unhealthy space, even though I was getting comfort. I don't think that happened. And also it was interesting, the perceived idea, because I was like, yeah, if my house burns down, I'm not safer in my closet than in my bedroom, but I felt that way.
And how has that instinct manifested as an adult? Like, I think in some ways, symbolically, you still hide in the closet.
Oh, for sure.
It makes me, I mean, it kind of makes me think of something similar when I was a kid. I could not talk on the phone. I would get severe anxiety. It was the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Mm-hmm. And so I preferred to write emails or text when I was in like junior high. My mom would make all my phone calls for me, or my dad when I was younger. But eventually I had to face that discomfort because people have to talk on the phone at this point in history. It's just a part of life. And so I think that's an example of when like something could become too comfortable, like my not using the phone, or like the discomfort of using the phone is something I need to move toward.
Yeah, like the fact that at first you were kind of able to get away from it, that it was like you just then sat back and said, okay, great, I just don't have to talk on the phone because I don't like it, instead of realizing like at some point I'm going to have to learn to talk on the phone sometimes.
Yeah, like I have this vivid memory of me sitting on the bed crying, like sobbing, and my mom has the receiver with the curly cord in her hand, and she's just begging me to just make a phone call, like just talk to them. I think I might have been asking someone for money to go on a missions trip. We had to call around, and even now, like I can't ask people for money, as listeners know.
No, we had a lot. You just reminded me. We had a lot of First of all, I was in Girl Scouts, and I was in Girl Scouts in the late 80s when your parents didn't take your Girl Scout cookie form to work and sell it to all their coworkers. You actually, like, people generally went door to door.
I did that for a couple years.
Yeah. So I remember like having to do that, and that giving me super anxiety, and I was never one of the top sellers. And I know that's why, because I would, my mom would be like, you can go here today and you can go here today. And I'd put it off so long, I'd end up doing, like a quarter of what she'd suggested because it took me so long to get through it. Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. And it is scary. Like, as an adult now, it's scary asking people for money that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never want to go up to a stranger's door and just like, ugh.
No.
I hated doing that.
Like, for me, I think it was just like having to talk to people, confrontation, any of that. Somehow I have gotten to the point where, like, I would rather, if I have to do something like that, talk to the person face to face than on the phone. I still hate the phone so much.
Yeah.
It is the worst of all the forms.
It really is. I mean, even with friends, like I said, I get anxious calling them on the phone. Like, that's why I much prefer voice messages.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And stuff like that. What do you think about, like, the comfort zone? Because that's one of those, like, overused phrases.
Right.
For sure.
Right. It's hard to talk about because I feel like, it's definitely overused. But at the same time, I feel like if you sit and think about it, you kind of understand, like, what it truly is. But it's still hard to describe, even though...
Well, and like, what's the difference between comfort zones and boundaries? Like, let's say my comfort zone is only eating foods that are white. Like, that's I can't go outside of my comfort zone. Whereas, maybe that's a bad example. I have a boundary of not eating anything that's not white because things that are not white hurt me, and I need to have that boundary for my own protection.
I feel...
But how would you know the difference? Does that make any sense, listeners? Or am I just fucking crazy?
I'm not sure it made sense. But I appreciate the effort. This is a hard one to describe how I'm thinking, too. And I'm going back to the idea of that comfort zone is perceived safety. But I feel like boundaries are actually made to keep you safe. And at the same time, I'm recognizing that sometimes you could set a boundary and, you believe it, but it wasn't necessarily a good one. So, they may not, but I guess maybe that's more like from the intent. Because even if that happened, I do believe a person sets a boundary because they genuinely believe that it's best for them. They genuinely believe it's going to make them better, keep them safe. A comfort zone, I feel like sometimes feels like you know that it's just an indulgence. That's so interesting that you say that, especially like the word perceived discomfort. Wait, did they even say perceived discomfort? Perceived safety is what I wrote. Yeah, perceived safety and familiarity. I have a story from the first time I went to treatment. I was actually looking for this piece of paper before we started recording. It's a piece of graph paper. Because there was this girl that was in treatment with me. We were all like 15, 16. And she would take these pieces of graph paper, and in each square, she would draw a little part of a design. But when you zoomed out and saw all the squares together, it was this really intricate design. And then she would turn those designs into borders around like a quote, an inspirational quote or something. So one day she gave me one that said, "Embrace the uncomfortable." I can't remember if it was something I had said in group or if I was talking about comfort zones or what. But for some reason, that became my mantra. Okay. And I kept the piece of paper because prior to that, I know I always bring it back to my religious background, but you're taught that, if something is comfortable, it's sinful. Or like comfort is a bad thing. Comfort means stagnancy. Comfort means indulgence. And I think to this day, I kind of view comfort as this bad thing. And so I do feel guilty when I let myself be comfortable. Okay. I see that. So in that way, like, the discomfort that I put myself through has become comfortable. Yeah.
if that makes sense.
And I mean, that part for sure. I feel like both of us have found like putting ourselves in discomfort is the comfortable option.
Especially when you don't feel comfortable like in your skin.
Yeah.
Or in your brain. Like we have to face those parts of ourselves like every day.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like that, you know, like both of us, how we deal with that is shifting the discomfort. That it's
say more about that.
Well, because you were saying it's like a lot of it comes about because you are just like, I don't feel comfortable with who I am. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. And so it's almost like that's a discomfort that like you can't wrap your brain around. So you're just like, let me go to this one I totally understand. Here's discomfort that I get. And that somehow becomes comfortable.
Well, and it's so subjective too, because sometimes, like, how do you know when it's a righteous discomfort? Like, I have this problem with lying to people I love. I should be uncomfortable with that. Again, this is like from a very black and white viewpoint, but that's what I think. And then it's like, I equate parts of me, like my weight, to lying to people. I'm like, I should want to change that. I'm uncomfortable with it. But like, how do you tell the difference?
Yeah, I was thinking of it more as like the idea that, yeah, like I feel like no matter what I do, all of these people don't like me, and that's uncomfortable because I don't know how to change that. You know, it's just how I am. And then it's like, but I can starve myself or, you know, binge and find ways to compensate. And those all make me feel miserable, and that's discomfort. But I've done it and I know how it works, and there's familiarity, and somehow that makes it comfortable.
It's being a martyr.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like this discomfort that I don't understand, but I understand this one. So if I have to have discomfort, let me make this one replace it.
Well, and in Christianity, at least, I think like discomfort is rewarded.
So yeah,
like,
especially if you felt like I should be in discomfort.
Yeah, discomfortable. That should be a word. I wrote down a quote that I wrote in 2010 on 420 before I knew what that was.
Even better.
Who am I to refuse God just because the thing he requires of me is uncomfortable? I will be his vessel and I will let him speak through me as he wishes. Gross, first of all. I was wrestling with whether or not I should give my testimony at student chapel in my private Christian school.
Oh boy.
I was, as I said, severely anxious. I was anxiety.
We're just inventing language this episode, guys. Hope you're here for the ride.
It's been a long week. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, the fact that it makes me uncomfortable means I have to do it because I feel like God wants me to do it. And who am I to deny God? And I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways that translates now that I'm no longer a Christian. I still kind of do see myself as like supposed to do the things that are uncomfortable. Like that mantra, embrace the uncomfortable. I saw that as really motivating. But now, these days, I think I push myself to be uncomfortable. Like I won't let myself be comfortable, and it's harming me. And so,
like it started to feel like I'm not really like improving myself or making things better unless I'm uncomfortable, because it always was before.
Yeah, or like, God forbid, smoking weed makes me feel better in my body. It's indulgent. It's a sin. It's, you know, like, why do I have to even feel guilty about it at all?
Yeah.
I shouldn't.
Yeah, that goes to, I mean, that, and like I've definitely caught myself doing this with other things where you feel like you have to constantly justify it.
Yes, if it's comfortable, you have to justify it somehow. Oh, that's like, so true.
Well, I'm doing this that's enjoyable, but it's because this and this and this.
Oh my God, it's like working in a fast food place and like working at the register and using a stool to sit down.
Right?
It's like God forbid you sit down at your job. You have to like have a certifiable disability or something just to justify that. It's like, what if you just want to be comfortable at work?
Which, yeah, I was going to say all those sorts of things. I mean, those go under the same blanket of, you know, especially when I started working, the professional world was very much, you know, like no weird hair colors, no tattoos, no anything like that. And that always bugged me because I was just like, how am I doing my job worse because I have a tattoo? And that same thing, you know, it's like, how is someone ringing up your food worse because they're sitting?
This is a tangent, but Starbucks is regressing on that kind of stuff.
I've heard some of those stories.
Another reason to not support them. But apparently they're like banning theatrical eyeliner.
Oh my God.
And
I hadn't
some
heard
people
that
think
one.
it's like a crackdown on trans people. And then also like masks they're banning in some places. It's just bullshit. I've known they were a scummy company before I left in 2019, but they're just getting scummier by the day. Definitely don't have your comfort in mind at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The mask one thing always pisses me off when people do that too.
Don't get me fucking started. It's that.
Well, I always just think like, you guys realize before you turned it into a political issue, like people genuinely did this because like if they caught like the tiniest germ, they were dead.
Yeah. And also you shouldn't have to prove that you're fucking disabled to justify it either. You know, like I hate that I have to tell people like, oh, I'm immunocompromised, or like I know people that are immunocompromised.
Right.
Just, like I have to justify myself. What if I just like hiding my face?
Yeah.
You know, like I don't have to have a reason.
You should start making...
I do have a lot of good reasons.
You should start making up things to people. You just be like, both my lips were burned off and I'm really self-conscious about it.
I have an incurable viral disease.
Yeah. If I breathe on you, you're dead.
Oh my God. Woo. That also makes me think of physical comfort because like obviously I wear masks all the time, but I don't like it. They make me uncomfortable, like physically. I do have a huge problem with like senses, like sensory discomfort can really impact my mental health in a big way. And I didn't really start focusing on it until I got diagnosed with ADHD at 31. But yeah, that's one thing we haven't talked about is like physical comfort and how it translates to mental health. I mean, we kind of talked about it in the context of self-care. I don't take care of myself because I feel like that's too comfortable. But for instance, your apartment where you live, the amount of physical comfort you have there really impacts your day-to-day life. And like, I wouldn't tell you you're a bad person for trying to make your living space more comfortable.
Yeah. And now that it's close, I think I'm really realizing here, how much it's affecting me mentally to live in this area.
Yeah. I'm just looking at my notes. They don't make any sense. Like I wrote, what does it mean for you to be? And then I just never finished that thought.
Oh, that sounds like all the time when I journal at work. And it's not because I get distracted at work. It's because I just start daydreaming while journaling at work. I'm usually just like, and then I think I need, and I always finish it like, what the fuck was I just saying?
What? I was onto something, damn it. Just asking the basic questions like, what does it mean for you to be comfortable in your brain? One question I have is, how do you make yourself uncomfortable? And I wrote, exist, LMAO. Like, even I know some of my questions are bullshit.
Something that I have noticed about myself that I've wondered sometimes, do I do this almost to a detrimental degree, is I am big into delaying gratification. And I mean, you know, I can see starts of it when I was a kid. For some reason, my example is a lemon meringue pie. Like,
okay,
I had an order that I ate things in because you want the best last.
Of course.
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
But I mean, like little things like that. And I've noticed it turn like, just like affect my life to this day. I'm trying to think of a good example because I know there are things that it's just kind of like, I know at the end there's one good thing and it's just kind of like, I'll just keep putting it off and putting it off.
Yeah, I do that too. Like I won't let myself enjoy a TV show unless I put in so many hours at work or like cleaned the living room or something like that.
Oh, I know a good one, or maybe it is. It's kind of silly, but it's just like certain beauty products, like particularly like shampoo and conditioner. I always seem to end up having like several different ones. And I'll find, you know, say I've got like 3 shampoos in my shower and I have one that's my favorite and makes my hair feel amazing. And instead of using that, then I'm just kind of like, but I got to use all these other ones and then I'll work up to this. And when I have it, it'll be amazing.
You want to save it.
Yes.
But then what's going to happen is I'm going to get hit by a bus and my hair will smell like cheap shampoo because I didn't fucking use the nice shampoo.
Right.
Why is that the example that popped into my head? I'm fine, guys. I promise.
Okay. Yeah, and I do that right now because I also I'm really into perfume oils. Since I learned, I don't know, something, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago now, like I could never wear perfumes. I think it's because like commercial and drugstore perfumes usually have a lot of like caustic, like alcohol and things like that in them, and they give me an instant headache. So perfume oils that are just the pure oil don't do that. Since I discovered that, I've gotten really into scents. But I have 8 of them lined up here, and I know that
Nice.
that's what I'll do is like I will never wear my favorite one on a Monday because it's like, why would I waste that on a Monday?
Oh my God, yes. Or saving your nice underwear for like when you leave the house to go to therapy, even though you're not gonna, no one's gonna see it.
Exactly. And that's why, sometimes I catch these things and that's what I think too, is I'm just like, perfume oils last like a million years. And I'm saying like, I can't use.
Also, they're cheap.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't use this one until it's special. And I'm just like, no, you know what? I'm going to die and I'm going to have all these like half bottles of perfume that I never used.
You know what it is? Gratification is comfort, basically. So like you're delaying the comfort, so you're guaranteed comfort later on.
Yes, it's there. It's like, I have something to work towards. And
that's a comfort in and of itself.
Be comfortable.
So, like, what are ways we comfort ourselves versus ways we want others to comfort us? I think we should end on that.
Okay,
like,
that's good.
Because I was wondering, I don't even know if I know for myself, so this will be interesting. I mean, obviously, we talked about the coping mechanisms that we use to comfort ourselves. Like, for me, it's binging and purging, getting high, procrastinating, honestly, is a big one for me. But none of those are good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was trying to think of what I like other people can do to comfort me, and it was the two things that I find hardest to do for myself, which are be present with me and affirm me in some way. Examples of that could just be like spending an afternoon with me at a thrift store or something, or even just like coming over and watching TV with me. Things that I see as a waste of time when I do it by myself, or like affirming me.
I could see you not wanting to ask for it, but also it being comforting.
Yes, like complimenting my outfit or like telling me that I write good. Like, that is just music to my ears. And I would never ask for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also see it as kind of like a sin that I want that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because it's selfish.
Because that's something, I agree with that. I mean, I haven't like been doing a lot of like writing that I can like put out and stuff like that recently. So I feel like probably the times where people were going to like, I was going to have an audience for my writing the most would be like the last couple times that I was in treatment, because both places that I was at, that was most of their groups was like they had writing assignments and people shared.
Well, you felt comfortable sharing,
and
because that's one reason we don't do it, even though it brings us a lot of affirmation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I did, but I agreed with you because I realized like
you were forced.
Yeah, but I heard both times a lot, and I realized it was just like you said, like a lot of people, they're hearing from all different people, and they always, like made a point to tell me like, your writing, is really good. It's captivating and all of these kind of things. And I know, I felt guilty, but I just kind of like fed off that. I was like, you saw it.
Yes. It's just nice, warm, fuzzy feelings. Mm-hmm. Like that's what comfort is at its core, is just like feeling good.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. Yeah. If people compliment my music.
Exactly. It's like, okay, someone's validating me. I can like rest here for a while.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if I've told you this, not to brag, but this actually like.
Does it make you uncomfortable to brag?
Yes. That's why I had to put that disclaimer. But this does still like blow my mind. So my best friend that I met the first time in treatment, her dad, he got into Juilliard when he was like 10 or 12 or something absurd like that. Like he didn't actually go then. He just auditioned to see if he could. And, and so like he got in super young. He's taught in several different countries. He's a piano professor. He's got a bunch of like performances on YouTube because he's like a very good piano player, very well known. So when her and I were in treatment, the first place, they had a piano. and I would play on it. And the first like family weekend where parents came, her parents did not know at this time like who I was. You know, they're coming for the first weekend. They don't know that we've become best friends. And she also said, she's like, my dad does not offer like petty compliments. Half the time he doesn't compliment his own students. But she said that he and her mom came in and I was sitting there playing the piano, and her mom told her later, she's like, yeah, he just, you know, like listened for a bit and then just like leaned over and was like, she's really good. She's like, he will not just say that to say that. So when I heard that later, I was like, holy shit.
How did it make you feel then?
I think it just kind of, like floored me and shocked me. And it was the same thing. It was just like, it felt amazing because it's like, just stressed how much this is unsolicited. This is true. But also, it was immediately like backlash that was just like, why do you think you're so great?
Oh my God. I have a funny story we can end on.
Okay.
Have you heard of Awana Club?
No.
It's
Or it might be one of those things once you talk about it, I realize I did.
So it's a weekly meeting, kind of like Cub Scouts or Girl Scouts. It's Christian. Mm-hmm. It's basically kids of different ages memorizing Bible verses and singing songs and doing crafts and stuff.
Okay.
And you get different pins for different verses you memorize. So like, now that I think about it, the whole point was just memorizing Bible verses.
I do remember having these long like flashcard things, and they were all the books of the Bible in the New Testament, and you had to memorize them in order.
That's so funny. You say that because literally just last night I was talking to someone from Peach. Nikki was at my house.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about how neither of us can remember any Bible verses anymore.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was a thing, like memorizing the presidents. Like, do kids still do that?
I don't know, because again, I did go to Catholic elementary school. Like, apparently there's a song about, I think, the states and their capitals, maybe, that like everyone that...
Well, I mean, there was that.
Everyone that was a public knew, and I didn't know them.
We had to recite the American, what's it called when you... The Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it called when you sing to the flag?
We were just still doing that in Publix when I was there.
But did you know there's a Pledge of Allegiance to the Christian flag?
No.
Yes, and we had to do it in Awana along with the original Pledge of Allegiance because duh.
Okay. I didn't know that one, but I did have to memorize, like Act of Contrition and...
Wait, what's that?
Oh, these might be Catholic things. The Apostles' Creed.
That sounds like a Catholic thing.
Yes. Catholics will know these. You'll know the Apostles' Creed. That's when you took a nap.
Wait, I did have to recite the Apostles' Creed. There's some overlap between Protestantism and Catholicism, even though they would not like to say that.
Right.
Anyway, all that to say, I did this weekly, and because I have anxiety and I was a very meek, like well-behaved child.
Yeah.
And so every month or whatever, we would, the supervisors would pick a chum of the month, because my age group, we were the chums. I think they all had fishing themes.
Okay. I was trying to think. There's a lot of definitions I could think of for chum. I was like, those aren't good.
I don't know. Jesus' disciples were fishermen.
Okay.
I guess roll with it. But anyway, they were like, this month's chum of the month is Christina Jumper. And not only was I floored and shocked, like you said, I started crying.
Oh, no.
I had to go up in front of everybody and accept this award, and that was my worst nightmare. And I just hated being the center of attention. And like, I have a picture of me with the sign just crying. I will see if I can find it.
I was just gonna say post it, please.
That's an example of just being so uncomfortable when, even if it's a good thing that's happening.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can talk every week on a podcast, like that didn't used to be comfortable for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think comfort is something that can definitely like evolve over time.
Yeah. I've thought of it, and I've never gotten as far as actually trying, because, you did this podcast by yourself for so many years. And I've only done it with you, and I've always felt, especially because like if you have to miss a week, I thought, maybe I could do something. But the idea of doing it by myself is just always like, no, do I just talk to myself?
So, okay, I might cut this because it's boring to most people, but I edited with Riverside for the first time last week. because we did video. And it's so easy, you could do it.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
But yeah, you can totally record on your own. Get outside your comfort zone.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, what else is the point of art but to get us outside of our comfort zone? I think that's one reason I do love, and I do consider podcasting art. It it lets you push those boundaries outside of your comfort zone in a way that is like safe because it's assumed.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like what you were talking about in the beginning about the therapy project. You reminded me of. Here's the story I'll end on. I originally thought when I went to college, well, one of my many things that I originally thought is I was going to be an architect. And I was in my freshman year then. And so like a lot of the things you do are almost just take kind of like base art classes. So I spent a semester taking a lot of just kind of like basic art and drawing and things. After like 4 weeks, then my instructor noticed, because he'd always just say like, use whatever medium you got. And he's like, every time you take out your little pencils and you make all little pencil lines. And the next time I came to class, and he was just like, all you are allowed to use is vine charcoal. and just so people know, that's a very soft charcoal. And I mean, it just makes sweeping. Yeah.
After letting you do whatever you want, all of a sudden, he's like, you're only allowed to use this.
Just for that class. And I think that's why, because he saw that that's what I kept doing, is just making like little tiny perfect pencil drawings.
Oh, so this was you in particular.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I thought it was the whole class.
No, yeah. It just told me. It was just like, okay, for this time, you can't use pencils. Here's this big stick of soft charcoal. That's all you get. And I was like, okay.
So that's like being pushed out of your comfort zone.
It was, but then I realized like I loved it, and I use like different types of charcoal for most of my things, but I was like, they look better when I just go crazy and make big sweeping movements with it.
I love that. Yeah. I kind of love when someone forces you outside of your comfort zone and it ends up being good. Yeah. Because let's be real, sometimes we just can't do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. Or we won't.
Yeah.
Like an intervention.
Yes. My intervention with a stick of charcoal.
Exactly. Your art intervention. That was a bad one. That was really bad. What should the pickle pull be for this?
Ooh. I'd like to focus particularly on the comfort zone idea.
Yeah. Maybe what is your comfort zone right now?
Yeah, I would say like, what is your comfort zone? And I don't know, just kind of like, do you think it's doing good or bad things for you? Like, is it positive or negative?
Ooh, yeah. I like that. Appreciate your skills, your poll skill, for sure. I barely talked all day. I've just been editing this audiobook. I just had to stop myself using expletives.
I do feel like I do pretty good on the polls, and that's making me feel better because I feel like you come up with like 90% of the taglines. So.
Well, yeah, so, there you go.
Yes, I'm glad we both have our strengths.
Our comfort zones, if you will. But, sometimes you need to lean into your comfort zone.
Right.
Because life is too long to be uncomfortable all the time.
Exactly. Delayed gratification. We just talked about why it's not that great.
Yeah, bonus question. What is making you comfortable right now?
Yeah.
How are you comforting yourself?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Bye, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. If you like what you heard, tell a friend about the podcast. You can send them to picklesandvodka.substack.com, where they can listen to our entire catalog and find our newest merch. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us a voice message at speakpipe.com/picklesandvodka. My personal Instagram is @xtinajumper, and Lauren's is @Lauren3_AFH. We'll see you next week.